Hello and welcome to BFS Wargaming. So we are now currently in a lockdown in the UK, unfortunately. So what I'm going to attempt to do is try and bring you a video every day. Unfortunately, these won't be battle reports. I have still got some battle reports in the vault ready to come out. So these will be coming out during lockdown, but I'm going to try and bring you some other videos during lockdown. So I'm going to start, and today we're going to do a series. So this is the first one we post up today on the Necron codex. Okay, so the new codex, if you've watched the channel, you see that I play Necrons. They were my first army. So I have a soft spot in my heart for Necrons. I love the lore, I love the look of the army, and I really like this codex as well. I'm loving the codex. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into, and in this video we're going to talk about the rules. So the army rules, we're going to talk about reanimation protocol, we're going to talk about the dynastic codes, relics, the cryptek arcana, and basically talk about my thoughts and feelings on them, because obviously all of you know what it is. But yeah, to talk about what's good, what's not, you know, all that sort of thing. So first off, we'll go in with the detachment abilities. So you got detachments gain the royal court and dynastic agents and star god abilities. So you've got different keywords for different units. So you've got nobles and Catans, and you've got the dynastic agents which have no dynasty. So the troop units gain the objectives secured ability, which they had in 8th. And then you have the royal court, which means when mustering an army, if it contains the silent king, a pharaon, an overlord, or a lord, whichever is the highest. So starting at the bottom is a lord, then there's an overlord, then there's a pharaon, then there's a silent king. Whichever is the highest has to be the warlord, and if they're in your army, they have to be the warlord. So if you take them out, then you can choose. You can have a cryptek as your warlord, or you could have the Scitec lord as your warlord. Because although the Scitec has lord in his name, he isn't a noble. Probably because he's a destroyer and they're all a bit tweaked in the head. So, dynastic codes. So we'll start off with Methrip. So with Methrip, you add 3 inches to the range characteristic of ranged weapons, excluding pistols, and that model with this code are equipped with. Each time the model with this code makes a ranged attack, the target unit within half range, the armor penetration is improved by 1. So very similar to the old Methrip, however, you're getting the extra 3-inch range on it. And we'll go in to talk about the protocols afterwards, but basically for each of the dynasties, if you can make 2 of the protocols active instead of just 1. Or 2 of the protocols, 2 of the directives of that protocol. So Methrip is really nice. Just going back, to where the nobles making the overlord the lord, making them the warlord, and making you do that, I do actually really like it. I think that is the way I look at these new codexes. They are trying to make you build an army to what an army should be. So if you've got an overlord in there, he should be your warlord if he is the highest ranking. So Methrip, really nice, especially if you're doing any sort of like warrior spam, like, you know, the metal tide, the legion, sort of adding 3 inches to the range characteristics. So you're getting 27 inches on the Gauss flayers, you're getting 15 inches on the reapers, and then when they're in half range, you're then getting the extra AP. So it is quite nice. So definitely one to look out for if you're building your army in that way, with a lot of you know, a lot of guns basically. So then we're going to Methrip. So models of this code have a 6-up invulnerable save, which is really nice, makes you a little bit more durable. And each time this unit with a code advances, it can translocate. So basically you can move through terrain and stuff like that as if it wasn't there, and you get to move. You can choose to move the maximum of 6 inches if you want to do that. It is a choice though. But if you do this, the models in that unit cannot shoot, even if they've got assault weapons. So you can choose not to do it and just advance normally and use your assault weapons, or you can choose to translocate and you go an auto 6-inch advance, and you can move through terrains that wasn't there. But that does mean that you have to forego your shooting if you could have shot. So again, each time the unit falls back or translocates and in the phase, you can move through terrain. Yes, as I said. So nice. It's quite nice. It's you know, you got a bit more maneuverability to get on them objectives if you want. Obviously the 6-up invuln's nice, especially again if you've got warriors or immortals. Might make them just hang about that a little bit longer, maybe get a little bit more reanimation. So it's all right. It's not one that I would probably choose or build an army around, but someone might find a way out there somewhere. So Novok, add 1 to charge rolls made for this unit, this code. So really nice, adding 1 to charge rolls if you're playing a really sort of close combat list and you've got stuff dropping in from deep strike like flayed ones. Getting that, having an 8-inch charge rather than a 9-inch charge is obviously that much better. And then if you've got a CP reroll, you're just increasing your chances of getting in. And then each time a model of this code makes a melee attack, if that model's unit is charged, heroically intervened, or was charged, improve the armor penetration by 1. So really nice, just a really nice close combat dynasty. Just makes you that little bit more effective. So definitely something I would build an army around, because I think that's really, really cool. Getting all these sort of buffs, I think especially if you had loads of flayed ones, it would be really, really cool. So Niliak. Units with this code have the objectives for cure ability, and if they already have it, they count as 2 models. Really, really nice. Like, so good in 9th edition, because it's all about primary. I mean, say it's all about primary. It's, you know, the primary is the easiest thing to score points on. It's probably more important than the secondaries, because it's the primary. It probably should be. And that's often where games are won or lost. So the secondary, you know, being able to get that, and also if you have the objectives secured keyword, it can make it harder for your opponent to get secondaries. So it's just a really, really, really strong rule. Each time an attack with an armor penetration characteristic 1 is allocated to the model with this code, if that model's unit is wholly within its controller's deployment zone, that attack has an armor penetration of 0. So basically any -1, you then just take it away if you're in your own deployment zone, which is nice. Just makes you a little bit more durable, like turn 1, turn 2 if you're still in your deployment zone. It's quite good. Okay, so Zarakan, so the old Silent Kings dynasty. Each time one of this code loses a wound as a result of mortal wound, roll 1d6 and a 5+ that wound is not lost. Really nice, 5-up. It is really good because it goes well with reanimation if you're taking warriors or other things like Lichguard maybe, because you're then just making them that little bit more survivable if you do come up against like a Grey Knights, a Thousand Suns, Eldar, you know, then people with heavy cyclists that are going to deal out a lot of mortal wounds. And each time this unit with this code is selected to shoot or fight, you can re-roll 1 wound roll when making that unit's attack. Again, really nice, just being able to re-roll a wound roll. Say if it's for a Doomsday Arc and you hit all the times and then you get hardly any wounds, you're like, and you just get an extra wound roll, and then you could use a CP and get another re-roll on a wound roll. So if you would miss 2 wounds, so that's quite nice. It is definitely one of the stronger dynasties. And then you have Scitec. Each time a morale test is taken with this, you can re-roll that test. It's quite nice, especially with Necrons, because you do have very high leadership, so you could end up getting yourself out of trouble by re-rolling that morale test. Instead of following normal rules of rapid-fire weapons, models this code can shoot rapid-fire weapons and make the double number of attacks if the shooting target is within 18 inches, which is really, really nice if you're using like warriors or immortals with Gauss. You just get that extra range for the rapid fire. It can be quite nice. Now Scitec aren't that strong in terms of the codes, but when we go into the relics and warlord traits and stuff, Scitec do become a lot stronger. So if I was going to say out of these 6 dynasties, which are the better ones, I mean Novok are very good if you're going close combat, but only for close combat, so you have to really build your list around that. Methrip and Scitec if you're running any sort of warrior type spam. maybe just loads of troops with rapid fire weapons, then they might be a good option. And then you have Niliak is a good option with the objective secured, and then you have the Cesarican is strong as well. I would say Nephric's probably the weakest, and the trouble is, so the big trouble is probably the custom dynasties. So we're going to go into them now. You can combine a lot of these things and almost come out stronger. And you don't get the double protocols, the double directives off the protocol, but we'll talk about that in a second. So the dynastic traditions, and you've got circumstances of awakening. So basically you've got two tables for picking your custom dynasty traits. So you can make your own dynasty. Very cool. But you can only have one from one table and one from the other. So you've got 2 pages. You can have one from one page and one from the other page. So let's just run through some of them. So you've got the objective secure ability the same as Niliak have got. You count as being objective secured. If you've already got that rule, you count as 2 models. Really, really strong. And I was saying now, that is often paired up with relentlessly expansionists. At the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins, the unit can move up to 6 inches. So you can do like a 6-inch scout move just before the game begins, which is really, really strong. And it's very strong again for if you go close combat. So those two, I think, is going to be the most played dynasty out of all of them. Even the actual dynasties, I think that will be, those 2 rules put together, will be the most played dynasty. That is by far the highest. So you've got Pitiless Hunters. Instead of following normal rules, you can fire rapid fire. Doubling number of attacks if either shooting model's target is within half range of weapon or if the shooting infantry remains stationary. So basically you're getting rapid fire if you remain stationary. It's okay. I'm not sure. I might even like that more than the 18-inch range from the Scitec, actually, because you can remain stationary and then shoot at 24 inches and get rapid fire, or 30 inches if you're immortals and get rapid fire. So yeah, I might even like that more than the Scitec rule. Superior Artisans. Each time a unit with this code is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll the wound roll when making an attack. So we've seen that. Rad Wreath. Units have the following ability. While an enemy unit, this is an aura, excluding vehicles, is within 1 inch of this unit, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of the unit, which is really nice. Basically, this is like these Necrons have been in like radiation, and they're radiating out from units they're in combat with, and the unit then gets -1 toughness because they're getting weakened by this radiation. I really like that. It's a really cool rule. Each time, so immovable phalanx, each time an attack with damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to an infantry model with this code, unless that model's normal move made a normal move. So basically, if you didn't move, you add 1 to your armor saving throw. So if you're warriors and you didn't move and someone shoots you with a damage 1 weapon, you get a 3-up save instead of a 4-up save. It's quite nice, but you can't move. So, yeah. Unyielding Models get a 6-up invuln. It's nice. Each time model makes an attack against the character, you can add 1 to the attack's hit rolls. Terrible. Terrible, terrible. Never take it. I mean, what's the maximum? You're probably going to go up against like 4 characters maximum. And it's so situational that some of these other traits are just so much better. Like, you definitely take the objective secured over that because it's just going to win you the game far more. Unless you're going for some real narrative line. Unmerciful Horde. Each time a roll test is taken with this code, you can reroll that test. It's okay. Masters of the Martial. Each time a unit with this code is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll the hit roll. So it's the opposite to the wound roll one. Butchers, you can add 1 to the charge roll, just like Novok. Severed. A unit with this code benefits from a selected directive of your army's active command protocol while it's within 9 inches of the friendly Necron's character model. Basically, you get an extra 3 inches on the protocol directive. We'll get into the protocols, but not great. Select one of the following dynasties. So Vassal Kingdom is like just selecting one of the other original 6 dynasties to take their code. Okay, so then the other side is the ones that can be matched up with the ones I've just said. We've got add 1 to the move characteristic of cryptek models, and each time a cryptek unit with this code makes a pile of consolidate, it can go 4 instead of 3. Really great if you're building a cryptek list. I think there's a lot of cryptek lists being built out there, because I think you can make some competitive lists with the cryptek stuff. So yeah, could be quite cool. I mean, there's other things that maybe you'd want to take instead, like the pre 6-inch move. That and the pre 6-inch move, you're using cryptek, both could be really, really useful. Maybe the 6-inch move is better. So each time a model with this biker makes a... Each time a model with this code that is infantry or biker makes an attack, and I'm modified of 6 automatically wound. Hit of 6 automatically wounds. It's alright if you've just got loads of infantry and bikers. Could be good. So add 3 to the range characteristic of ranged weapons, excluding pistols. Yes, okay. Then you've got the 6-inch move, pre-game 6-inch move, which is super strong. Each time model of this code makes an attack with a rapid fire weapon that targets a unit with 12 inches, add 1 to the strength characteristic of that attack. It's okay. I mean, if you're playing like Necrons with rapid fire, like warriors and mortals, I'm not sure if you really want your opponent within 12 inches, because you're probably going to be in trouble. Warrior nobles, each time a noble model with this code makes a melee attack, reroll a hit roll of 1 and reroll a wound roll of 1. Again, you'd never take that, because the nobles are terrible, terrible in combat. Yeah, that's by far the worst. By far the worst code out of all of them. And the last one is to do with vehicles, which could be quite nice if you're taking a vehicle heavy list. Vehicle units with this code can shoot in a turn which they fell back. In a range attack, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll. So you can fall back and shoot, but you have to subtract 1 from the hit roll. Still quite good. And the other one is they don't suffer the penalty for firing heavy weapons while they're in combat. So they are the dynasties, the custom dynasties. So the big issue... So, I mean, I'd say the objective secured in the pre 6-inch move are by far the best. I mean, there are some other nice ones in, like the reroll wounds and the way you can build these things. It's quite nice. The +1 to charge. There are things you could definitely build around. The automatically hit 6 automatically wounds the target. It's quite nice if you've just got loads of guns from loads of infantry and biker models, because then you can get wounds through on vehicles and the heavier stuff, which you might not be able to take down so easily if you haven't got any anti-tank. So it could be quite good. So stratagems, we're gonna skip over the stratagems for now. There are some really, really good stratagems in here, but we'll go over that and probably in another video. Cryptek Arcana. So these are stuff that you can pay points to upgrade on your crypteks. Some of them are cryptek specific. So we have Psychomancer model only, the end of movement phase. You select one enemy unit, not a vehicle, within 18 inches, roll 3d6, and if it's equal or greater to the unit Cedar Ship characteristic, it's D3 mortal wounds. It's alright. It's not bad. You know, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. It's a bit of a smite, but you have to get over their leadership on 3d6 or equal to. It's alright. So Dimensional Sanctum, the bearer gains dimensional translocation. Basically, they can deep strike. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go through all of them. There's a lot that I think that aren't great. So once per turn, saving for a failed. Okay, so once per turn, the first time a saving throw is failed for the bearer, the damage characteristic is changed to 0. That's quite nice. It can make you a little bit more survivable. And then where was the Chronomancer only one is in your shooting phase. Select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the start of your next turn. Half the advance rolls and the charge rolls. That could be really strong against like a melee army. So that could be very, very nice. The Technomancer one is you can select one friendly cryptek unit within 9 inches of the bearer until the start of the next. Add one to the attacks characteristic of the models. If it's a monster or vehicle, add D3. Really, really nice if you're again building that cryptek heavy list. And you've got another Technomancer one which is really good. The Phylactery Hive. I really like this one. So you can use your rights of reanimation ability on a cryptek unit, a destroyer cult unit, or Triarch Praetorian unit. Really, really good. You can get yourself like a Scitec destroyer back, or a Lockhouse destroyer. You know, it's like a 3-wound model. So yeah, that's really, really cool. Or you can get yourself a Wraith back. Actually, would you be able to? Think you'd be able to get a Spider back, which is like 6 wounds, which is quite nice. So you've got the Plasmancer's got Quantum Orb. Once per battle in your command phase, the bearer can activate this item's cryptic arcana. If it does, it select 1 point from the model anywhere 24 inches to the bearer and place a marker on that point. So this is like an orbital bombardment. I really don't like the way this works or the way orbital bombardment works because they're so easy to avoid. I mean, they could be good in a situational aspect in terms of you might be able to keep someone off of a objective. You know, if it was like a really key point in the game, it could win you the game. But I think it's probably not going to work, and it's probably not going to keep them off the objective. They really need to get off the objective. You might kill a couple of units, a couple of models or something. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that at all. But yeah, there's some cool little things you can do in here. With the cryptek arcana, so it's definitely worth taking a look and maybe seeing how you could add something to your army. Because for instance, the Phylactery Hive is how many points? It's 20 points, and you could quite easily get a 30, 40. I mean, I think a spider's about 80 points. You can get an 80-point model back, so you know it could be really good. I'm not 1,000% you can use it on a spider, but I'm pretty sure you are because it just says Dynasty cryptek unit. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. Okay, before we move on, I've got to change the battery, so we'll be back in a second. Okay, so we're going to move on to Warlord Traits. So, the Warlord Traits that anyone can take, I'm not overly keen on. So you've got Enduring Will. Each time, basically, you subtract 1 from the damage from any attack. It's nice, it makes your characters a little bit more durable. I mean, it's quite nice on a Scitec Lord. Other than that, the others die pretty easy. And yeah, I'm just not a massive fan. Each time, Eternal Madness. Each time you make an melee attack, you can re-roll the wound roll. Again, I'd only ever put that on the Scitec Lord because he's the only one that's half decent in combat. Or maybe the Lockhouse Lord as well. I haven't actually seen what he's like in combat. If he's similar to Ape, then he was probably alright in combat. Immortal Pride. Immortal Pride used to be an amazing Warlord trait. So you'd automatically pass morale on Ape. Now, it's each time the Warlord loses a wound as a result of a mortal wound. I don't know why they've done this as a result of a mortal wound. It should have just been, if you lose a wound, it's a 5-up feel no pain, but it's just only mortal wound. And you have an aura that whilst you're in 6 inches of the Warlord, you ignore combat attrition, which is, it's okay. It's alright. I mean, if you're playing big blobs of warriors, then maybe it will come into effect sometimes, but I'm not even sure I'd bother taking it in. For all of the Silent Kings, so add 3 inches range to the Warlord's aura abilities. Yeah, it's not bad. It's okay. Implacable Conqueror. You can re-roll the charge rolls, but only for core units. Which is the problem with this Warlord trait, because it says uses the word core. So you got to remember the core units are warriors, immortals, neither of which are combat units. Death Marks, not a combat unit. Tomb Blades, not a combat unit. The only combat unit we have that's core is Lich Guard. So you'd have to be running a lot of Lich Guard to make it worth taking this Warlord trait? Why didn't they just say reroll charges? Why does it have to be for core? I understand they want to try and minimise the... But it's like, that would be great to have if you had flayed ones and Scorpec destroyers. You know, we've got a few decent close combat wraiths. We've got a few decent close combat units now. Why just make it for core? Because we don't care about rerolling charges for warriors. It just makes no sense. I feel like they just kept putting core in and got carried away with it. But, you know, I could rant about a few things. In the fight phase, each time this warlord is selected to fight, this is the honourable combatant. Basically, if you fight against another character, you can add 2 attacks to characteristics. It's terrible. Don't ever take it because, to be honest, other than the Scorpec Lord, all the rest of the characters are terrible in combat anyway, so why would you? And you can't, if there are any characters that are half decent in combat, they're like name characters that you can't give it your own warlord trait or a tan, which you can't give a warlord trait anyway. Okay, then we go on to the dynastic warlord traits of the actual specific name dynasties. Now some of these are alright. So you've got add 1 to the strength and attacks characteristic of this warlord. Okay. Each time an attack is made against this warlord, subtract 1 from the hit rolls. Again, making it a little bit more durable. It's alright. At the start of the fight phase, sorry, that was the top one was Methrip, then the second one down was Necron. Next one's Niliak. At the start of the fight phase, if this warlord is within engagement range of a unit, it can fight first that phase. That's quite strong if your warlord is decent in combat. Basically, if he's a Scorpec Lord. Which is quite nice. And then you've got each time this warlord makes a melee attack, an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound. This is for Novok. 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. Now, the reason this isn't great, again, the only person you'd put down is a Scorpec Lord because he can have up to 8 attacks. Now, most characters get 3 attacks. Most characters. 3 attacks. That's how many they get in combat. Necron characters. Well, what's the likelihood that you're going to roll a 6 on the wound roll? You'll probably get that once in every 3 attacks. You'll get a 6. So once every 3 turns. It's just not worth taking. Again, like if you were doing it on a Scorpec Lord and using the 8 attacks instead of the 4 attacks, might be a little bit more worth taking, but still probably wouldn't take it. Scitec. Now this is the best warlord trait in the whole book. And one of the reasons why you would take Scitec. So while this warlord is on the battlefield, each time you spend a command point, you roll a d6. On a 5+, you regain that command point. Really nice warlord trait. Really, really, really good. Cesarican, the Triarch's Will. If your warlord has this warlord trait, then when assigning command protocols for the battle, you can select 4 command protocols instead of 5, and then one of those command protocols can be assigned to 2 battle rounds instead of 1. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible warlord trait, because I think command protocols are bad, and I'll tell you why in a bit. So we'll move on to relics first. So the relics, so you've got the Orb of Eternity. Brilliant. You've got to spend the money for the orb, but it is really good because you can now use this on anything. You could use this on a unit of 6 or 5 Lockhouse Destroyers. You could use it on a unit of 3 Spiders. You could use it on Wraiths, on Scorpec Destroyers. You know, you've got a lot of use here, and so you're getting to reanimate in the command phase, and you're getting +1, so you're reanimating a 4 up, but there does need to be a unit alive. That's the only thing. Partly alive. But I do think it's quite nice. Nanoscale Casket, each time it uses its living metal ability, it gains 1 additional wound. That's nice. It would be better if, I think the old one, it was regain on the beginning of your turn and your opponent's turn. Then it would be better if it was that. The Gauntlet of the Conflagrator, it's a flaming weapon. You can do mortal wounds on 6s. It's alright. Then once per battle, Veil of Darkness. So Veil of Darkness is still really, really good, but you can only do it to core units, unfortunately. So you take the bearer, so the character, and then a core unit, and you can move it anywhere on the field 9 inches away. And they've got to be wholly within 6 inches of each other. It's good. It's just not as good as it used to be. Obviously, when you could pick up a unit of destroyers and then move them 9 inches away, or however far away you wanted, and then you could really get yourself in a position where you get some really good shooting positions, and it was really, really strong. It's still good, and it's still one of the strongest relics we've got by far. But it's still definitely worth taking. So then you've got a Staff of Light weapon, a Void Rep weapon. I'm not going to go through the weapons. They're just slightly better to what they were, to the thing they're replacing. Infantry Noble Model only, Seminal Weave. So only a Noble Model can do that. You can add one to Toughness and Wound characteristic of the Bearer. Now, why have they done this for only a Noble? Like, why can't you put that on a cryptek? Or why can't you put that on the Scitec Lord? Like, I don't want to take it on a Noble, because Overlords aren't that good, and neither are Lords. So why would I want to put it on them? I just wouldn't take it. There was just no need to make that Noble. Again, just annoying little things like that, where they're trying to limit stuff too much when the actual relic isn't that good anyway. It's not like a must-take relic, we need to limit it. It's like an alright relic. Why bother limiting it? That's sort of annoying. Then you have some more, like the Methrip only is a weapon, Nethrec weapon. Nihiliac is add one to the armor saving throws made for the bearer, which is quite nice. So you could get Scitec Lord with a 2-up. Each time the bearer would lose a wound, roll a d6 on a 6. That wound is not lost. So really nice, trying to make your Warlord, say it is a Scitec Lord, just that little bit harder to kill. So he's got a 2-up save, 4-up invuln, and a 6-up feel no pain. You know, then he's like, okay, he's a little bit more tanky. Novok have got the Blood Scythe, so it's just a better weapon. You replace a Void Scythe or a War Scythe. Now, this is, I think, the strongest relic in the book, along with probably the Veil. The Vanquisher's Mask, and it's Scitec only. So at the start of the fight phase, you can select one enemy unit within 3 inches of the bearer. That unit is not eligible to fight in the phase until after all eligible units from your army have done so. Really, really, really good, really, really strong relic. Especially if you're going up against something that wants to be in combat with you. You stick down a Scitec Lord. Suddenly they charge you. You say, I'm fighting first. Bang, you're dead. Like, really, really good. Well worth taking. Then we have the Sovereign Coronal, which is the Cesarican model only. So it has, while a friendly Cesarican unit within 9 inches is an aura of the bearer, that unit benefits from selected directive of your army's active command protocol. So you're getting the extra 3 inches instead of just a 6 inch, while you're in 9 inches of a Necron's character. Then you get, while a friendly Cesarican core unit is within 9 inches of a bearer, that unit benefits from both directives instead of just the one. So you're getting an extra 3-inch aura anyway for everything, and then if you're core, you get both directives instead of just one, which is nice if you're really building around them protocols. So we'll quickly, powers of the Catan, sorry, I keep pronouncing it wrong. I've got very used to saying Citan, I should be saying Catan. So the Catan, antimatter meteor got slightly changed. Really powerful. You can do straight 3 mortal wounds or on a 6d3 plus 3. Really, really good. Timed arrow, situational. But if you exceed the wounds characteristic of a model, you just basically delete the model. So it's quite nice. So you roll a d6 and you add 1 to the roll. If it's a Tesseract Vault, so it's just a d6 normal if it's a Catan. And say you're they're aggressors, so they've got 3 wounds each. Unit of aggressors. You roll a d6. If you roll a 4 or 5 or 6, it's just an aggressor dead. So, can be quite nice. Sky of Falling Stars. I really like this. It's the same as it was in 8th edition. So, you can choose 3 units, and for each of those units, if you roll under the amount of models in that unit, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. A 6 always fails. So Cosmic Fire, again, really good. Roll a 4 up for any unit within 9 inches, takes D3 mortal wounds. Seismic Assault, this is quite good. So you basically you roll 1 dice for every model in the unit, so it's really good against hordes. And on a 6, you take a mortal wound to a maximum of 10. So if there's like 20, 30, you roll in. To be honest, it doesn't matter if it's a maximum of 10 because you probably shouldn't be rolling more than 10 sixes even against 30 models. So, but it can happen obviously. So that's why they put the maximum of 10. But yeah, really nice. And then you've got Transdimensional Thunderbolt, which definitely got better. So you basically roll on a 2+, the person you've chosen suffers D3 mortal wounds. And then any unit within 3 inches on a 4+, they suffer 1 mortal wound. Really nice. And then you have the unique Catan powers. So the Deceiver one is select one enemy unit within 12 inches, roll 1d6, add the leadership of the Catan, and your opponent rolls a d6 as their leadership. The enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound for each. So for everything you're above, so it will be 10 plus d6 for the Catan shard. Say they roll a 6, that's 16, and then say it's a sergeant or a whatever, and they've got an 8 leadership. They roll a 3, they go to 11, so then it'll be 5 mortal wounds because that's the difference between the two. So it could be really effective. Gaze of Death is brilliant for the Nightbringer. So he did lose that as a ranged attack, but he's got it as a Catan power. And you select a unit within 9 inches, and roll 3d6 for each 4+. They suffer D3 mortals. So you can do a maximum of 9 mortal wounds. It's quite nice. And then the Voltaic Storm is quite nice for the Void Dragon. So you can't choose a character that's less than 9 wounds, but you can with the Gaze of Death, which is really, really nice. Roll 1d6 on a 2+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. It suffers D6 mortal wounds instead of it's a vehicle. And until the start of next turn, that vehicle, whose characteristic changes, loses its... Basically, you half the number for your damage table if you have a damage table as a vehicle. So it's really, really good. Could make you hitting a lot less on the ballistic skill and stuff like that. Then we have the Secondaries. So you have Code of Combat, score 3 victory points at the end of the battle for each enemy unit that was destroyed by Necron's noble unit from your army. Horrendous. Never take it. That should be score like 8 points if you kill something with a Necron's noble. At least 8 points. Or a minimum of 5. So you only have to kill 3 units with a Necron's noble. Like, horrendous. Horrendous. It's so hard to do. And also, if you take that, all they've got to do is just kill your noble or nobles, and they're like, well, you're not scoring that secondary. It's not a good secondary. Don't take it, unless you're a far better player than me and you know something I don't. So, Battlefield Supremacy, Purge the Vermin, my favourite one. Really, really good. I always score quite a few on this. I've maxed out quite a few times. So score 2 victory points at the end of your turn for each table court that does not have any enemy units wholly within it, which is a big thing because sometimes they've got like bits of models, like so they've got some in one quarter, some in the other quarter, and suddenly they don't have either quarter. So it's really strong. You get 2 points. You can't score the first battle round, but you get 2 points for each quarter. And as the battle gets to the end, the last 2 turns, you know, quite often there's not enough models or units, so you've got like at least 2, so you could score probably 8 points in the last 2 turns alone. So it is really, really nice, really good. And it's really good for Necrons because we're not particularly good at spreading out and getting like engaged. So I can understand why they've put it in. It's a really good idea. Treasure of the Aeons. If you select a secondary objective after both sides have finished deploying, your opponent selects 3 objective markers on the battlefield. Score a number of victory points at the end of your turn if you control one or more of those objectives. And then there's a table you can get. If you control 1, you get 2, 2 you get 3, and 3 you get 5. This is really good if you've got a very durable combat-y army like Wraiths. You've got loads of Wraiths and stuff running forward. That could be really good. All with objectives secured. That could be really nice. And then you've got the Ancient Machineries, which is it's fairly similar. So if you select a secondary objective, then after both sides have finished deploying, starting with your opponent, the players are selecting objective markers that are not within the player's deployment zone to be ancient machinery objective markers, until 3 objective markers have been selected. If there's only one such objective marker, then that objective marker is the ancient machinery objective marker. Necron's core and Necron cryptek units from your army can attempt the following action: awaken ancient machinery. At the end of your movement phase, one or more of Necron's core or Necron's cryptek units from your army can start to perform this action. Each time a unit starts to perform this action, must be in range of a different ancient machinery objective. A unit cannot start this action while there are any enemy units, excluding aircraft, in range of the objective. The action is completed at the end of your next command phase. So you do have to wait till your command phase. So again, you're going to want durable stuff, probably like Wraiths, cryptek, because you can do it with Wraiths as well. So provided the unit attempting the action is still within range of the ancient machinery objective marker, score 3 victory points for each time your army completes the awakened machinery objective. So that could be good if you've got like a really good objective holding durable army. But my favourite is definitely Purge the Vermin. So I'm not going to go through the Crusade rules. That's definitely for a different day. So then we go to abilities. So you've got Living Metal. So anything with Living Metal, which is pretty much anything that's got more than one wound, has Living Metal, and you just regain a wound. Really nice rule. I think it's great. So Dimensional Translocation is, you can set up in Deep Strike. So if you have that on your data sheet, so I think the only 2 that have it are Death Marks and the Hexmark Destroyer. Oh, and Flayed Ones, maybe. Can't think of any else that have it. Then we get to Reanimation Protocols, which is definitely a point of contention. So what I'll say is I think Reanimation Protocols are better than they used to be. In some ways, and in some ways they're not. So obviously it's a lot harder now to get +1 to reanimate. So you're always pretty much reanimating on a 5+, or 6+ if you've got something like Death Watch, which can minus your reanimation. So how it works is, say you've got a unit of warriors, they're shot at the end of that shooting attack. So say you've got some intercessors shooting at it, they kill 8 warriors. You then get to roll 8 dice at the end of that unit's attack, and for every 5 up you get a warrior back, and it's all right. It's okay. It's definitely better than not being able to get any back. So because they've just, another unit shoots, another unit shoots, another unit shoots, and then you don't get to reanimate them at the beginning of the turn. So it definitely makes them more durable. The warriors and the immortals are a lot more durable, which is really, really good. Now, when you get to the multi-wound models, such as the Scitec destroyers and things like that, you have obviously 3 wounds. Now, if you kill 3 Scitec destroyers out of a unit of 5, yeah, you get to roll 9 dice. So there's a chance that you will get 1 back. If you kill 1, it's almost impossible. It's not impossible, it happens obviously, but it's very unlikely that you're going to get it back. So, I mean, it's probably balanced, because if you didn't, then there's a good chance. If you could just get it back on a 1/5 up, it's too strong. So one thing I thought they could do with the multi-wound models, so anything with, I'd say, over 3, because 2 wound models, yeah, you could probably get them back every now and again, so it's not so bad. But I thought one thing they could do with the 3 wound models was, if you get to roll for all of the ones that have died in your command phase, which just means that that people have to focus fire a bit more, because they know that otherwise you will get to roll from in your command phase. It just makes it, I mean, I know there are things that you can do that. You can do that with the Orb of Eternity and the Flattering Hive. You can get 1 model back, or the Orb of Eternity you can roll. But literally, you can't with a reanimation orb, because the reanimation orb is just, or the resurrection orb, sorry, is just for core units. So it has to be the Orb of Eternity is the only thing you can get to use it on, and it's a once per battle, and you can use it once on 1 unit, and it's just like, I mean, maybe that would be too strong. I don't know. Maybe that would end up, they'd have to put the points up of everything. I don't know. Maybe they're balanced. It feels like it's not right the way it works. It doesn't feel right. They've changed it, and I think they've changed it for the better. But there's still something else that needs to be done, and I don't know what it is. I mean, it is good they still get living metal. So if you've taken one down to, you know, from 3 wounds to 2 wounds, and it goes up, or if it's a 2 wound model down to 1 wound, and it goes back up to full health. Like, they still get living metal, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I think that's the only thing I'd like to see changed, is that the above a 2 wound, a unit with models of 3 wounds that you get to roll in your command phase. So yeah, I don't think it would be super overpowered, so it just means people would have to focus fire a bit more maybe, and then you would occasionally get that chance of getting back. But maybe it would be too strong. Maybe it would be too strong. So yeah, that's basically how reanimation works. It's, you know, I feel like it is better than it was, but it still needs work somewhere. Command protocols. Now let's talk about command protocols. So you have to get command protocols, you have to have certain things in your army. So because we're not Space Marines, we don't just get it. Okay, you have to do certain things. Okay, that's a bit harsh. With Space Marines, you do need them all to be Space Marines to get your doctrines. And then to get your super doctrine, you do need them all from the same chapter. So, you know, they do have to jump through a couple of hoops. Not quite as many hoops as we have to jump through, but there is a couple. So, every unit from your army, excluding Dynastic Agents, Citan Shans, and unaligned units, is from the same dynasty. You select them, and you select a noble model to be your warlord. This unit is eligible to benefit from the ability, and the following rules apply. So what happens is you get to choose from 6 protocols. Each protocol has 2 directives. So you choose for each protocol, and what turn you want that to be active, and then when it happens and you turn that card, or you go into turn 2, this protocol is active. You then get to choose one of the 2 directives. If you are one of the named dynasties, then you have a specific protocol, and when that becomes active, you can get both directives anyway. So how this works is each of these things is an aura that goes off of your character. Okay, so it's a 6-inch bubble off of your character, and your units can benefit from these directives, protocols. That's the biggest problem for me, is the fact that it's an aura off of the characters. Because in my opinion, none of these directives, protocols are stronger than having -1 AP. Like Devastator Doctrine, Tactical Doctrine, Assault Doctrine. Really, really strong. Yeah? And good rules. I like them. I just think these protocols, they should have just said, yeah, it's army-wide. There's no aura off characters. You don't need a character. And the fact that you have to have a noble in your army, that sort of annoys me as well. But I know, sort of lore-wise, I can understand why they've done it, because it's like, it's the noble that's giving the protocols and the directive. It's sort of coming from the noble. And then if the noble dies, I'm pretty sure you can't use it anymore. So it's whereas if your captain dies, you can still use the doctrines. Don't worry about it. So it's a little bit annoying. I can understand if they said you can't use any protocols if all characters are dead. Then you go, okay, because crypteks are like very intelligent. So why can't they carry on these protocols and put out these protocols? Like, it doesn't really make sense in that manner. But we'll quickly run through them. So Directive 1, each time an attack is made against this unit, if it did not make a normal move, advance or fall back this battle round, it receives the benefit of light cover. Quite nice if you have this turn 1 and nothing in your army's moved, you make that the directive and you get light cover. Quite nice. Each time the second directive of this protocol is called the Eternal Guardian. Each time any unit declares a charge, you can either hold steady or set to defend. So you can hold steady, which means you overwatch on 5s, which is good, or you can set to defend, which means you can add 1 to attack to your hit rolls in combat. It's quite nice. Again, that is really nice first turn, either way, or first or second turn, because you might get charged second turn for the second directive. 2, Protocol of the Sudden Storm. Add 1 inch to the move characteristics of models in this unit. Nice. If this unit is performing an action, it still can make attacks with ranged weapons without the action failing. Really, really nice, if you're choosing to do actions. Protocol of the Vengeful Stars. Directive 1, each time a model unit makes a ranged attack, an unmodified wound roll of a 6, improve the armor penetration by 1. So you don't just improve it because it's like a rapid fire assault weapon, you have to do it on a 6. Directive number 2, each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, that target unit is within half range, the target does not receive the benefits of cover. Yeah, alright. It's alright. Sort of situational. Hungry Void. Directive 1. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, so this is a bit more close combat, an unmodified wound of 6, armor penetration by 1. Again, it's not just like when you're in assault, you improve the armor penetration, you have to roll a 6. Each time this model in this unit makes a melee attack, this unit's melee charge move was charged or performed a heroic intervention, add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristic. Really, really nice. Quite strong. I'd say that's probably the only one so far that's as strong as getting -1 AP, just because. And you still have to be within 6 inches of a character. Directive number 1 for the Undying Legions. Each time this unit uses Living Metal ability, each model in the unit regains 1 additional lost wound. Really nice. If you've got a load of wanted models, you go, okay, I want that directive, they all get 2 wounds up. It's nice. Each time you make a reanimation protocol rolls for this unit, you can re-roll 1 of the dice. Yeah, it's okay. It's alright. It could help you get like a, if you know you're about to take a lot of shooting, yeah, it could be alright. And then you got Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant. Add 3 inches to the range of this unit's aura abilities. And then directive number 2, this unit's eligible to shoot in a turn which it fell back, but if it does, then it will end its turn. To the end of the turn, it's subtract 1, basically like Ultramarines. So that is the protocols. Like I've just told you, you know what my problems are there. It's the fact that you need a noble in your army to start with, which that's not the worst bit. It's the aura. I mean, none of these are as good as Doctrines, in my opinion. I mean, some of them are close to being as good as Doctrines. You can only have 5 of these protocols, and you can only have 1 directive active unless you've got the named dynasties, and then you can have 2 for 1 turn. Like, they're nice, they're cool. If they were an army-wide rule, it wasn't an aura, I'd think they were a lot better. I mean, because from a few people that I've spoke to that play Necrons, they just ignore protocols. In terms of, when they're building a list, they're not thinking about building a list to make sure they've got protocols, because they're not strong enough. They're not strong enough because it's an aura, basically, and so you're not going to build your army around them. So it's just like, I don't even, quite a lot of lists, I'm not even bothering putting a noble in. Just go with the Scorpic Lords, like Scorpic Lord, cryptek, stuff like that, because the nobles just aren't doing a lot for you. If this was not an aura, then maybe you'd think about putting a noble in, because it's then an army-wide rule that you just get, and you don't have to be within range of stuff. Then you're like, okay, now it's worth putting a noble in for that, you know? So, going through the rules, like I said, I really love this codex. I do love the codex. I think it's really cool. I love a lot of the rules. There's just a couple of things, and it's like, I don't want to make it like so they're amazing and, you know, they're gonna kill everyone, but like having this just as an army, the protocols are just army wide rather than auras, it's not going to suddenly make Necrons massively OP. And I mean, maybe one day they might make Doctrines auras. Who knows? And reanimation protocols, they're better, but still, I just feel like there's something that needs to be changed. Living Metal's obviously lovely. Then you've got the Catan powers and stuff are brilliant. The Warlord traits are meh. Like, just not great. There's some things they've put on there to make it core. I guess only affects core. And it's just like, why? Like, why make an alright Warlord trait pretty much not usable? The Secondaries are alright. Got no real issues with the Secondaries. I think, you know, there's a really strong one in there, and then there's another couple that you can build a list around. The Relics, like I said, the Vanquisher's Mask is brilliant, but you have to be Saltec, and I prefer not to play Saltec. But I'm sort of taking Saltec just to get that and the Hyperlogical Strategist Warlord trait, because that's by far the strongest Warlord trait, and that's by far the strongest Relic. So it's like, but the actual Dynasty traits aren't that great. So it's like, it's a bit hard. Veil of Darkness is obviously still really strong and still well worth paying an extra CP to take. The Orb of Eternity is really, really good. You know, I can imagine people putting that in. Other than that, like, there's some alright cool upgrades for weapons and stuff, and you might take the Nanoscab casket, because why not? Or you might take the Infinity Mantle if you're playing Iliac. Because it's quite a cool relic, but I mean, I'm sure there's some of these weapons upgrades that are quite cool, but are they worth replacing like Veil or something with? Don't know. Yeah, Warlord traits are unfortunately not great. The cryptek arcana is really cool. It's just a nice cool. You've got some spare points. You can do some little upgrades. I think they're really, really nice. And then we're going to go into stratagems in the next video. So I hope you enjoyed the little run through the Necron's rules on what I think's good, what I think's not. Unfortunately, you know, there's some great things, but what I would have liked to have seen a little bit more on the Warlord traits and relics. Not more, but just a little bit better. I'm not saying like hugely powerful, just a little bit better. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, guys. The Necron's Codex. Maybe you completely disagree with me. Maybe you agree with me, or maybe you think I haven't gone far enough with some things. Let me know. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back tomorrow with another video on the Necron Codex. Thanks, guys. Stay lucky. Bye.